So we will find our way. Every single day, every single breath, every single heartbeat, every single moment, we will find our way. Yes? What is the key to finding our way? Consciousness. Consciousness. So, you know, in a unity church, you can always come up, that's going to be the right answer for most questions. Consciousness is the answer. No, what was the question? But that's what life is, consciousness. And happy Labor Day, everybody. Happy Labor Day weekend. I guess it's tomorrow's actual Labor Day, but I thought it would be fun to start with something light and fun. Things to say if you're caught napping at your desk at work. They told me at the blood bank this might happen. You know, this is just a 15-minute power nap like they raved about in that time management course that you made me go to. Whew, guess I left the top off the whiteout. You got here just in time. Sleeping? I wasn't sleeping, I was meditating on our mission statement. Oh, I was just testing my keyboard for drool resistance. All good. You know, I was doing a very highly specific yoga exercise to relieve work-related stress. And finally, you know, somebody must have put the decaf in the wrong pot this morning. Things to say if you're asleep. Today we are starting a brand new series, and it's based loosely on the yin-yang symbol. You've all seen it, right? And it's got a name, and that name is Tajitu. Say that with me. Tajitu. It's a Chinese symbol, as ancient as time itself, and it's often associated with Taoism. But the reality is it predates Taoism by hundreds and thousands of years. It indicates a unity and a duality of all things in nature. An apparent paradox, unity and duality, something that we do here, because we have one of our core values is diversity. But it's unity in our diversity. You see, if we all have to think alike, then you're all unnecessary. The reality is we have different thoughts, different ways of expressing, different ways of being on the planet, and that diversity is something celebrated here. But then we find a bridge. We create a bridge between your thought and my thought. And somehow in the middle way, which Taoism is all about, and so is Buddhism, the middle way is where God happens, where good happens, where love happens. But this symbol is talking about complementary forces interacting interdependently, forming a dynamic system. I got this from Wikipedia. A dynamic system in which the whole is greater than the parts. Kind of what this community is all about. Individually, you're all amazing. You are a point of light in the mind and the light of God. And when we come together and we sit together and your light meets my light and my light meets yours, there's an amplification. There is an acceleration. There is a greater illumination. Yes? So look around and say, between us, there is a greater illumination. Apparent opposites, each containing a necessary part of the other, and each one feeding the other as a complementary sister or a brother. You see, we are not less because of our differences, we are more because they are celebrated, and because we have a common interest to build that bridge between your understanding and mine. An interdependence, a mutual consumption, and an intertransformation. Those are a lot of words to say it's a melting pot. And everything and everybody belongs. Every thought and idea belongs within that pot, and somehow it is homogenized into something that's called community, that's called love, that's called life. So in this series, we're going to be talking about various things. In week 1 today, because it's Labor Day, work and rest. Labor and rest. In week 2, we're going to get a little more complicated with form and formless as sisters, as partners. That's next week. Week 3, nothing and everything. That one I'm really excited about, being nothing and being everything all at the same time. And then we're going to invite the children's ministry up on week 4. And on week 4, we're going to celebrate the parent and the child. How many parents do we have in the room? Don't you love that moment when everything that you've been espousing for year after year after year to your child suddenly comes out of their mouth and they throw it back at you? You know, there's a fine line between the parent and the child, the teacher and the student. We're all students for each other, yes? We're all teachers for each other. That was last month's series. Let it begin. I'm going to use as a metaphor throughout this series a battery. And I invite you to take, during the whole month of September, to have a battery and put it somewhere where you can recognize it and see it and revisit this, because it's a symbol of balance that we're going to be talking about. Batteries have a positive charge, yes? Batteries also have a negative charge. Yes? Is one bad and one good? It's not bad, it just is. It's not good, it just is. But when the two come together, the apparent polar opposites come together, there is a charge that happens, and it is a wonderful expression of life and love. See, nothing gets going. Nothing gets going with a battery that's only got a positive charge or a battery that's only got a negative charge. Your car does not start without both. You ever try to jump start your car and hook up the jumper cables only to one side? You're going to be sitting there for a long time. You need the positive and the negative for the car to go. Anybody have a stereo? As we're listening to the music, the songs are all about listening to the music. Try to listen to that music if you don't have a negative and a positive charge. Your stereo is not going to put out any music. Well, the same is true about life. And we have for a long time, and it happens in New Thought a lot, we think there's negative and positive. There's good and there's bad. But can we suspend judgment for this entire month? Just step back and suspend any judgment of good and bad, positive and negative, and be present to life. Just be present to life, whatever happens to be showing up. You see, this yin-yang symbol, this battery, is talking about an eternal and an immortal contract between two seeming opposites, polarities, that in partnership, it is the engine of motion. Let's read this together. An eternal and immortal contract between seeming polarities that in partnership are the engine of motion, illumination, and creation. All creation comes from cooperation of negative and positive, light and dark, so to speak. How many of us have ever constituted dark? Oh, the dark night of the soul, it's bad. I'll tell you one thing, I'm more the man I am today, more the person I am today because of the dark nights of the soul than I am about the light. Anybody who's lived in a big city and you've got lights 24/7 coming through your window, what do you have to do? You have to get blackout curtains because it is extremely unhealthy to live only in the light, as it is extremely unhealthy to live only in the dark. You must have both to have a healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy life. And when things are out of balance, none of the growth happens that we come here for. None of the growth is going to happen. No evolution. It's basically stagnation, and stagnation is basically death. There's either life or there's death. Is it good or it's bad? You get to choose. You get to choose. Out of balance, nothing is moving. So when we find ourselves out of balance, anybody find yourself out of balance? I'm going to share. It was all over Facebook. God bless Jim for putting it out there. I have been going through a very difficult bout of diverticulitis. I'm on the home stretch. And everybody had advice. I should eat this, I should not eat that. I should use these oils, I should use this meditation, I should go to this doctor, I should go there. You know, the doctors told me that if I went in again with diverticulitis, they were going to take a piece of my colon out. I said, the hell you are. And you'd be surprised what I did this week. And I was surprised myself. I never thought I'd do it before, but I went around standing on one foot. Somebody said, you should do that, 1 foot, and then perpetually balance. In fact, I'm going to ask all of you to do that right now. I want you to bring to mind some place in your life where you feel out of balance, and I want you to hold it. I want you to hold that in your heart and your mind and your spirit. Stand on 1 foot if you've got room to do it. And then just be in a perpetual state of bringing life into balance. There's a lot of this going on. You know what? There was a lot of that going on for me today and this week. Have a seat. There's a lot of that that's going on the planet. There's a lot of that that's going on in individuals, in the country, in the nation, in communities all over the world. We look like this. But let me tell you, I'm on the other side of diverticulitis, and I didn't go to a doctor. I didn't take any oils. I did quit eating for 4 days, and I stood on 1 foot. And I asked the infinite Spirit of God, what needs to be brought into balance here? Where am I out of balance? And surprise, surprise, it was work and rest. Labor and rest. And there was a call because I was completely out of balance. And I would love to say that that silly exercise and that awareness and the consciousness, because everything is consciousness, is what brought me to a healing place where now I can eat. I have to be mindful because if you ever not eaten for 3 days and then you can suddenly eat again, and setback, I ate a little bit too much. I went out of balance again. I ate too much. It's just ravenous to eat, eat, eat. And that's the consumption of the world that we live in today. We're in a society that's so out of balance, and it's about consuming, and it's about the overworked environment. I want to go to Spain where they have a siesta at 4 o'clock every day. You know, we're the only nation that works as hard as we do. Do you notice that? And do you also notice that we're the nation that has the most antidepressants on the planet? There might be a call to stand on one foot, get centered, get focused, remember the grounding, and get into a place of balance. See, when we find ourselves out of balance, ours is simply to bring the whole system back into cooperation, back into alignment, back into balance. The Tao Te Ching, that is the sacred text of the Taoist religion. It's translated as the way and the power. It's the main textbook of Taoism, and it teaches us that nature left to itself will lean towards the most harmonious outcome. You know, ask anybody, any environmentalist, they'll tell you what is the main reason of the environment being out of balance? Humanity. Humanity. Could it be that for the next month we can step back from life, quit interfering with life and nature, and go that it has a way to bring things into balance? It takes care of itself. This is a principle of Taoism, that nature left to its own accord will find the place of balance. It's best to avoid judgment and find the middle way between the extremes. Nature is always seeking that equilibrium, that equanimity, and that balance that comes with being conscious and being awake and remembering something in the middle, no matter where we happen to be. It's easy to let go of judgment, isn't it? How there was a lot of judgment. You work too hard. You're working too much. And then I have judgment of others. All you do is play all day. You're not getting anything done. Maybe there is a balance between the two people that can come together and learn from each other and teach each other. See, the symbol that we're working with is a non-resistance to life. Say that with me. Non-resistance to life, coupled with a conscious cooperation with life. Conscious cooperation with life. Together? As a means of expressing the power of life. The power of life. Together? The power of life. Let me restate this again, because this is going to be the foundation of the whole month. A non-resistance to life, coupled with a conscious cooperation with life, brings the experience of the power of life. Who would like more life in your life? That divine essence, that divine light, that divine purpose, that divine beauty. We all want that, yet we look like this, and we're not even paying attention to the life that's in the center that's going to bring us to balance. The yin-yang is about understanding one thing in relation to the other. Today, labor and rest in partnership. All things have the same amount of both within them. Instead of absolutes, who likes to see the world black and white? Any Virgos in the room? We Virgos, and I am one, and the birthday's coming up. I want to be born from quit looking at the world as black and white and be okay with the gray. To be okay with the gray, because the gray looks like balance. Black, white, gray is the best of balance. There's a continuum. Life is set up by spiritual law as a continuum, a flow or a spectrum of all creation, one in relation to the other, everything in relation to the one in relation to everything. So what are some examples of this in nature? Oh, I'm going to put my list. I was going to ask them for theirs first. Let's go ahead and do my list. Together, light and dark, strong and weak, masculine, feminine, thinking, feeling, life, death, fast, slow, human, spiritual, high, low, before, after, up, down, sadness, happiness, difficult, easy, activity, stillness, and the one for today, work and rest. I'm going to give you a couple cartoons to make my point of this imbalance that I see in our culture today. Let's go ahead and put the first cartoon up there. Go ahead and read that. I do find it a little amusing that it's the man telling the woman what he's going to do, and she's going to stay at work. That's a system that we have created, by the way, just physically and mentally. But in the case of unity, it's our thinking nature, always thinking, and we forget to feel. But that's a little bit what the world looks like today. Next slide, please. Can you read those words? The expectation. We all have great expectations. We come to church on Sunday and we're looking for that balance. And this is the way it's going to be when I go back to work. And then Monday comes and Tuesday comes and there's the reality. All I want to do when I get done with work is escape. I want to sleep. All right, next slide. Anybody recognize your home life? You lay down on the couch to finally get that rest, and the first thing you do is you're on the computer. Or let me give you the next slide, which is a picture of the way I got out of balance. Anybody do that? Oh, I'm so tired, I have to go to bed. And let me pull out my phone. I'm getting light and dark, yes? Yeah, you can rationalize that, but the reality is I should have been in bed at 11, and now I'm on the phone until 1 o'clock, and I wonder why I'm tired the next day. This is a symbol of what needs to change in our environment as a nation, as individuals, and as workaholics, and as Virgos. And you know who you are. I often find myself on long work days, really long work days, and sometimes it's a 14, 15-hour day, longing to be home. Longing to be home, longing to just rest, and I crawl into bed, turn off the light, and pull out my phone. And other times I'm at home with nothing to do. Anybody do that? I said, I just want to get to the edge of boredom, and I get to the edge of boredom in my time of Sabbath, in my time of peace, and the monkey mind is going. I'm still at work, desperately wanting to be active. So either side of the equation, whether it's workaholism or restism or whatever it might be, the equation is indicating the need for a shift. What might be the shift that's needed? Call it out. What's that? Balance. One. What else? Consciousness. That's the answer. Good answer. Life is consciousness. It's a call for balance. It's a call for consciousness. Here are the three things that I want to say that I found need to be shifted in my life. Number one, I need to be more present. Where am I at the given moment? I need to be here now. 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 That's a big shift because aren't you thinking 2 steps ahead, 3 steps ahead? I'll be okay when I get home and I can just kick off my shoes and take off the tie, or I'll be okay once I can get back to work and take care of that project that needs to be finished. It's about being present. The second shift that needs to happen is for a better balance in work and rest. Not one is bad and one is good, but just a better balance and equilibrium and equanimity that's happening as me as a conscious being in the center. And then third, a shift to be more spiritually focused. Could it be that if the focus was not on a human reality, but on a spiritual reality, that your rest could be more productive and your work could be more productive? Less stressful on either side of that equation, or less wasted time on the realm of rest. Let's begin to look something deeper. Let's start with the exhausted people. Anybody fall asleep at your desk ever, or got really close? You know, I'm just implementing that meditation practice. Jesus, our master teacher and way shower, I want to revisit him for the answer to that. Let's go ahead and put the scripture up there together and we'll read it together. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. This is not a call or a counsel from Jesus to go on vacation. Read it again. It's not a call to go take a nap. It's not a call to be somewhere else. It is a call to attention to be present to God doing the business, God doing the work, God in the midst of the work environment. It's a call in the midst of my labors to return to the presence of the Christ. This is the Christ speaking, not Jesus the man. Jesus the man dipped down into the infinite light that he was, a point of light in the light of God as a means of doing his very arduous work. Enough that would make Jesus totally exhausted. Any one of us would be totally exhausted. So he dropped down into a deeper vibration and elevated his consciousness to a higher vibration. How you got to work? Anybody know the name Mary Morrissey? Mary Morrissey is one of the most amazing teachers. And she used to just make my head spin. Mary would go keep company with the Dalai Lama, and then she would fly to Australia to do a 2-day workshop, and then she would fly up to Montana to hang out with her family, and she'd cook a meal for her family, and then she'd come back and do a meditation on Wednesday night, and then she'd be off on a plane again somewhere else in the world doing incredible teachings. I got to travel with her around the country as her piano player for a very long time and singer. And I finally I was exhausted watching her schedule. I was totally exhausted, and I went to her and I said, Mary, how do you do this? How do you do this? And she dropped right down into the Christ, and she says, in of myself, I cannot do it. Anybody in 12-step? In of myself, I am powerless. I cannot do this. She says, I would have been dead keeping this kind of schedule. And she'd show up on Sunday morning, and she'd do the most amazing talk. When did you prepare this? When did you do this? And she became a channel. Her company with the Dalai Lama, her workshops, her family, the meal, the message, the meditation was all being channeled from someplace else, a higher vibration. And she was clear she couldn't do it unto herself as a personality. But individually, as the unique individual expression of God that she was, and she knew it clearly and she claimed it proudly, it's not me doing the work. Who does that sound like? Sounds like the man that the world has been praising and worshiping, Jesus. He never did that. He never wanted worship. He said, follow me. Praise that which is within you. Praise that infinite source of power and energy and wisdom and ability. Mary was a great teacher, and I began to work smarter, having spent time with her. And suddenly the trips of being her piano player and setting up keyboards and setting up sound systems was no longer tiring because there was a shift in consciousness about the work that was being done. It's not running from work. So many of us are running from work. Have you noticed that? I can't wait till I retire. My dad said, I can't wait till I retire. And then he began his process of dying. For 2 weeks, he painted 6 houses. And then he got at the newspaper and sat down in the chair that's still sitting in his living room, basically waiting to die. There's no balance there. It was trading one suffering for another suffering. Everything was completely out of balance. So when I go home, my first job is to find a project at home. Hey, Dad, I need some help with this little project. I got to fix something in the bathroom. And I watched my father come back into balance, all because of a mindset, a change. I'm not dying. I'm not killing myself with work, but I'm in a place of balance. Anybody ever heard the term karma yoga? Karma yoga. You think, oh, I'm going to pay a price for sitting and holding a certain posture and doing upward dog or whatever it is. That's not what karma yoga is at all. Karma means action. Say that with me. Karma means action, and yoga means union. Is it possible that we could get to the place as spiritual beings having a human experience that everything we are doing is about a union, about coming into balance, coming into an awareness that it's God doing business, not me? If you're stressed out at work, I'm going to invite you to look up karma yoga and spend some time. As I take the BeliefNet test, and ready to go on BeliefNet, I love to take their tests, and it tells you what, based on your answers to the questions, who you are spiritually. So I am pagan, number 1. I am a Mahayana Buddhist, number 2. I believe in karma yoga, number 3. And believe it or not, number 4 was unity. It did make the list, so it made the top 4, so I felt okay keeping my job. Work becomes a means of uniting with a higher power, a higher vibration. My work doesn't have to even be ministry. I could be cleaning toilets. I could be emptying trucks. I could be painting a house, or I could be raising a family. And it becomes a way to unite with the presence of God. This is what Mary Morrissey did. This is what Jesus did. This is what we are called to do. And on Labor Day, I'm asking you to reflect upon this. Don't get burned out because you answer the call before balance. The call for balance is always there. The still small voice is always speaking, and then we can't hear it because we're perpetually in a place like this. Stop, breathe. In the middle of your work environment, have a Sabbath and go, okay, I'm listening. I am listening to the music of God, of Spirit, I find that I get a lot more energy when I do that. Some quotes just to make my point. Let's go ahead and read them together. Khalil Gibran together. Work is love made visible. How many ever contextualize your work as love? Good on you. Ephesians, we're even going to give St. Paul a little bit of notice today. Let's read it together. Serve wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not men. Work as ministry. Cleaning toilets as ministry. Unloading a truck, painting a house as ministry. I used as an example the first service, my staff. You know, we laugh around here because we have all these ministries, and that was by right of consciousness. I wanted to have a staff and a board and a congregation that saw everything as a ministry, because that was reflective of a consciousness that I'm doing this for a higher purpose than a paycheck. I'm doing this for a higher purpose just to say, check mark, I got it done. And so we actually had at one point, we have brought it into balance. Yes, the cleaning toilet ministry. Yes, the painting ministry. It all existed here at one point, but the reality is I'm grateful for that consciousness, because that consciousness brought it into alignment. You just weren't a custodian in this church. Al Mango was a minister. And let me tell you, as much good has happened on this planet and on this church because of Al Mango as a minister, as a custodian, as anywhere else on the planet. He's got the most popular class going right now on Sunday mornings. And when he finishes his class, he goes out and he sets up hospitality. And he makes the coffee. And he cleans whatever needs to be cleaned as a ministry. It reminds me of my friend Stu Boyer, I've talked about before here. We used to go to the church in Sacramento. And Stu Boyer was the custodian. And I'm telling you, you left that church and people say, how was church today? And people would inevitably answer, I don't know what the minister said or what song they sang, but did you see those bathrooms? You can eat off the floor. Stu had a consciousness that he was not just a custodian, he was a minister, and that changed everything. He never got tired. The ministers got tired. The custodian did not. Who was in balance? Who was in harmony? Charles Fillmore, our co-founder with his wife Myrtle, said this: together, the true object of all work is to express the power of one's being. Could it be that the job you have, whether you like it or not, is just there as a divine appointment to express the power of who you are? And what I found is the people who were moaning and complaining about the job they have never get the promotion. I have gotten a whole bunch of promotions in my life. I've gotten opportunities that I did not have the education for or the work experience for, and some really angry people. How did you get it? How did you get it? What's the answer, Beverly? Consciousness. Because I was not doing a job for the sake of a paycheck. I was not doing it for the sake of the accolade. I was doing it because this is ministry. I got to be a minister long before I was ever standing on a platform with a podium in front of me. I was a minister unloading trucks at 4 in the morning at the request of my father. And I made it the most joyous exercise I could. And I found joy. I'm not a morning person. Anybody else in the morning? Not a morning person? That's why you come to the 11 o'clock service, huh? But the reality is I found more joy. I found more peace. And then I was elevated and promoted very quickly above those that were complaining about the horrible, crappy job. And the reality is, it's all consciousness to express the power of who you are as a Christed being. And then the last quote, an anonymous one. I don't know who said it. I really looked hard. Let's read it together. Our work becomes a spiritual practice when it also becomes about something more than simply satisfying our own wants and needs. If you're working for a paycheck, I'm going to say think again. If you are working for a paycheck or the accolade or the attaboy, you're working for the wrong reason. Karma Yoga says work for the presence of God doing business as you. Work for the awareness that there's going to be greater God in the environment as a result of you being there. If our work is not informed by our spirituality, it can become a meaningless movement that has no permanent or temporal effect other than anchoring you to a physical reality, which in essence is suffering. If you are anchored to a physical reality, this job sucks, you're creating the very suffering in the job that you don't want. You are the cause of an effect, which is suffering. This Labor Day, I invite you to think twice about the job you're doing. I'm looking over at Donna and Mike Stott, realtors, some of the most busy people on the planet. They work 24/7. I don't think I ever have seen them not working, yet ministry is happening every time I'm in their presence. They're doing a job, and they're doing a job really well, but they're doing ministry because the consciousness is different. The consciousness is at a much higher vibration. And so Mike Stott, I get to spend more time with him because he's on the board. He comes in after having traveled to Chicago and then San Francisco, and then he's in New York, and he shows up at the staff meeting, and he's like, let's create some joy. And I'm coming in after an 8-hour workday going, I'm so tired. And Mike says, would you like a little cheese with that wine? The reality is, it's all about consciousness. Labor Day is about consciousness, listening. I will listen all day long. I'm cleaning the toilet, I will listen. I'm painting the house, I will listen. I'm a realtor. Whatever the job is, I will listen all day long. According to the World Health Organization, I looked this up, burnout has become an actual medical condition. Go, United States. We've got the corner on the market of burnout. We've gotten to the point where burnout is not just an offhanded remark or a request for a vacation or for rest, it's an actual diagnosis. We are a bit sick as a nation, and we're blaming the man. We're blaming the boss. We're blaming the work. I'm saying let's take responsibility and let's find a sense of balance within our own life. The solution is not to quit your job. The solution is to be in balance. Spiritual awareness is the great balancer. What is the great balancer, Beverly? Consciousness. What is the thought that I just allowed into my head as I'm doing my job? What is the feeling I'm holding as I'm doing my job? People will begin to be magnetized to you based on what you are holding. We teach that. This crappy job, everybody in that work environment is going to show up in a crappy way because of what you are holding. And you want to get out of it? Balance. It's the Christ doing business. It's God doing business as me. It's not me. You will get the promotion and you'll be in a better position. Yes? So let's go to the other side of the coin. When I say the word rest, what comes to mind for all of you? Nap. I heard nap 3 or 4 times. All the Virgos in the room. That was my answer. Oh, you said it. Nap, nap, nap. We might want to reconstitute what rest really means. How about sitting on the couch doing nothing? Don't we love doing nothing? Oh no, let's make it more juicy. Let's go on the beach and let's sit on the beach and stare at the ocean and do nothing and fall asleep and have the most glorious nap. These are all wonderful things, and I wish all of these things for you, but if we spent all our time out of balance on the beach, looking at the ocean, taking a nap, and sleeping, can somebody say unemployment? Can somebody say homelessness? You get to choose, you get to pick, but maybe there's a call for some balance. So many of us, I hear it all the time, and I love hearing it because it makes my heart so happy. Oh, when I win the lottery, I'm going to first pay off the mortgage to the church. And I always love that. But we're all waiting around to win the lottery, to be happy, to be fulfilled, to find the balance. Well, I'll be fine once I win the lottery. If you're waiting for the lottery to find balance, I'm really sorry. I'm going to pray for you because you're suffering in life. And I do wish every one of you those winning numbers. And just remember, when you win, that I wished it for you. And the mortgage is only $1.3 million, and you're going to win $1 billion. That's chump change, right? So many of us are waiting to win that lottery, and I wish you the winning numbers, but I don't think for a second that as spiritual beings on a path of evolving, you wouldn't be here because I challenge you to grow. You would not be here, and you would not end up winning the lottery and going and taking a nap for the rest of your life. That's what my father wanted to do. And he's still taking a nap until I go home and kick him in the back end and say, here's a project, Dad. Let's get a little busy and create some balance. Part of our incarnation, part of our reason to be in these earth suits, these beautiful bodies we have, is to use them in service to humanity. And the world has gotten very selfish, and so we're out of balance. It's all about me. It's all about me. And I love that New Thought was the great balancer at one point. You're a worm of the dust. You're broken. You're stained. You need somebody to fix you. And New Thought came along and said, no, no, no. You're not broken. You're not stained. You're beautiful. You're whole. And we began to get into balance. But what New Thought did is it's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about me, myself, and I. And we've gotten incredibly out of balance. And it's just a call. We're listening to the still small voice to come back into balance. You know, on Wednesday night, there was a lady, and I wish I knew her name. I cannot think of it, but she hit me between the eyes with my workaholism. And she said she used to say to the world, when they'd ask her, what'd you do for the weekend? Nothing. I didn't do anything. Anybody ever answer that? What'd you do on your vacation? Nothing. Nothing. And then one day she said, I got it. Bam, a light bulb went off. No, I didn't do nothing. Doing nothing is a waste of the energy of life that I have been given. She's had an epiphany, and she said, I spent time restoring my soul. I spent some time contemplating God in my life, nurturing my body, and remembering my connection to God in the silence as I rejuvenated my spirit. Now, feel the difference between those answers. What'd you do this weekend? Nothing. What'd you do this weekend? I rejuvenated my spirit and I remembered the God in my life in such a way. Is it possible that I can lay on the beach and not just take a nap, but take a sense of awe and wonder for the beauty of God on this planet? Can I be on the beach and thinking about how blessed am I that I have a paycheck? And maybe take a moment to think about the people who don't have a paycheck. Can I just be a little bit more conscious, a little bit more aware? And the answer was yes. Everything changed in her life after that. She no longer cursed her job. She no longer cursed the rest, but she came into a balance and found God everywhere, in rest and in her labors. I'm going to invite the band to come back up. Doing nothing indicates escapism. What are you escaping from? And if you're running from something, you're running from your lesson. You're running from your teacher. You're running from an environment that's there for a divine purpose. So, do you want to escape or do you want to restore, renew, and remember? That constitutes active participation in your spirituality. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, it is active participation, karma yoga, connecting with the presence of God in the middle of it. I'm going to change those quotes that I gave you earlier and put the word rest in there, and it is absolutely as profound. Let's put I don't think I gave you a slide for this one. Rest is love made visible. Oh, there it is. I did do one. Say that with me. Rest is love made visible. Next line. The true object of rest is to express the power of one's being. It's more than just a nap. Next line. Rest becomes spiritual practice when it also becomes about something more than simply escaping. If our rest is informed by our spirituality, if not informed, let's read it together. If our rest is not informed by our spirituality, it's a meaningless moment that has no permanent or temporal effect. True confessions today. I've gotten so tired. And I have a really nice couch in my office. And I will say, I'm just going to lay down for 10 minutes. I'm just exhausted. There's been too many appointments. Only to wake up 2 hours later, having missed the next 3 appointments, and more tired than when I fell asleep. And I made a conscious decision that I can take a Sabbath here, but instead of laying on the couch, I'm going to go out and walk the labyrinth. I'm going to go out to the backyard, get some fresh air, and walk the labyrinth for 5 minutes. And when I came back into the environment, I had more energy, more focus, more understanding, more wisdom, more energy, more everything than I had with the 2.5 hours of escape. I'm asking you on Labor Day to look closely and constantly about what you use rest for, and let work and rest be a partnership. The symbol above me, many of you don't ever pay attention. You see the bird up there? Everyone thinks it's a dove. It's not a dove, it's a seagull. This is a unity symbol. And when we come to unity, that symbol reminds me to find the balance. Ever see a bird try to fly with one wing? Can't do it. Oh, we think, well, this one will work. And I look at the state of our government. I look at the state of our workaholism in this nation. Ours is to come into a place of balance, not to make one anti the other, but to understand that the negative and the positive are just two aspects of God that need to come together. That circle represents the awareness of God. It represents karma, yoga. I'm working, as it said in Ephesians, for God, not for the paycheck, not for the boss, not for the accolade. I'm centered on God. And when I go home and I have that moment of stillness and silence, it's much more than a nap. It's the replenishing of the balance in my life in such a way that I'm still standing here when I'm 85 and 86, or when I'm exhausted and tired. The seagull represents our constant focus on God, a consciousness on life in the midst of no matter where I'm at, no matter what I'm doing, it is God doing business as me. So back to the yin and the yang, I'm inviting you to build a little Sabbath into your work environment. You see, Sabbath is not coming on a Sunday and sitting in a church or just taking a nap this afternoon. Certainly not watching a football game, but go ahead and do it. But be mindful of how blessed you are while you're doing it, that you have a TV you can watch it on. And you have the money to pay for the cable to get that football game to you. It's keeping our mind centered on God, on spirit, on truth, and then build a little bit of work into your rest. Do something that gets your body moving. An active body is an alive body. Don't follow my father's example and be tired. Oh, it's the weekend. I'm going to sit in my chair and nap all day. That doesn't honor the God doing business as you. So this is going to be the series. I invite you to get a battery, put it somewhere in your house. The different polarities of life that we've called good and bad, find the equilibrium. You may not be diverticulitis that you're healing. It might be 1,000 different things. As we go into meditation, I'm going to invite you to stand up one more time. And I want you to think about these ideas and these thoughts, and I want you to get on one foot and bring that energy into balance, and to know this is just a metaphysical way of reminding you that maybe there's a call in your life and the still small voice is calling you to a greater balance. You know what I love about watching you all too? Is that you may be going like this. There's somebody next to you you can lean on. A great potpourri, a great melting pot of experiences, and we lean on each other, and that's why we come together and have Sabbath, and that's why we come together and serve and work. Let's be seated. I'm going to get my microphone. Could it be that when you go to sit at your desk or you're driving around in your truck, that becomes the very sanctuary of God? I'm saying yes, let your work be a sanctuary. And when you're thinking about just needing a nap, go walk a labyrinth. Go find a place somewhere on a beach. Look at a picture of the beach on the TV in between the football game. And know that that's a sanctuary too, because God is there, no less than here on Sunday morning. But at the bottom of it, channel your inner Mary Morrissey, and you become the sanctuary, no matter what's going on.